All right. So just as a reminder, welcome everyone. Today's session will be recorded. My name is Emily Simpson, and I'm the education specialist with Select Path. And I am extremely excited to introduce today's speaker. So we have Rebecca here, and Rebecca is a certified health and wellness coach who has a focus on metabolism, energy, and mindset. So Rebecca's holistic approach does include nutrition and movement, but also focuses on the areas of rest and digest, which is a concept that she feels is often overlooked and is necessary for a clear mind, leading to improved cognition, energy, and joy. So throughout today's presentation, she's going to offer some practical ways to help calm the mind, reduce stress, and produce better physiological outcomes. Her techniques can be practiced by anyone, anywhere, at any time. And her goal is to ultimately help you learn simple and successful tools that will increase your creativity and productivity and keep your mind clear and calm. So without further ado, I will pass the mic. Thank you again, Rebecca, for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to today's session.
Thanks a million for having me, Emily. I'm so happy to speak on this topic. I want to thank everyone for carving out the time to learn a little bit more about it. I think it's extremely valuable, and I know that some of the tools that you learn here just in this next few moments together are going to be enormously valuable in your life. It has always been a belief of mine that when we talk about health and wellness, we tend to always go to the topic of nutrition and the topic of exercise, which is brilliant. Those do deserve to be at the top of the pyramid. But the thing that we tend to miss is this opportunity to really explore the concept of resting and digesting. Digesting food, yes, but anything that's happening in your world. So meditation offers us this really unique opportunity to facilitate that. And when you do, you amplify all of the other efforts in your life. So if you are focusing on nutrition, it helps to elevate that process. If you are someone who is working on movement, any type of exercise, meditation is also going to support you in leveraging all of the time that you're investing there as well. So it is a beautiful, beautiful practice that can be layered into anything that you're already doing. And what I love about meditation most is that it is for everyone. So whether you are already someone who is deep in the world of health and wellness, you can layer this in and notice the benefits right away. And if you're someone who's on the other side of that spectrum and you are someone who is just starting to take that first step into your health and wellness journey, this is a beautiful place to begin. So today, the goal is to provide you with a little bit of information on how meditation will support you in reducing stress, improve your creative abilities, your productivity. And the last thing I want to leave you with before we have an experience together is this impression, this knowing that this is easy to teach to someone else. So maybe at your dinner table tonight, or maybe the next time you connect with friends, these are pieces of information you can pass on to them, which is great because then that ripple effect continues onwards and outwards. The first thing I love to share with everyone is meditation is not about clearing your mind. And that's probably really good news to a lot of you because that is a super challenging thing to do. It is impossible for us to clear our minds. We are living, thinking beings. So thoughts are always going to be part of every moment of our lives. Instead, what meditation is the observation of those thoughts. So it puts a little bit of distance between the thoughts that are running through your head and the way you perceive those thoughts. Meditation is all about observation. It's the act of noticing what's coming up for you and then surrendering to what comes up for you. Sometimes you can actually be quite surprised by the faces of people that come up for you when you meditate or when you get still. You might be surprised by some of the memories that pop into your head when you slow down to meditate. And your goal is really just to simply notice what comes up and not try to judge it. Just let it be. Just notice it. Meditation grants you space. And I like to say that oftentimes all of us do this in our professional lives and in our personal lives. We seem to be chasing this idea of time. We always think that if we had another hour in the day or if we had another day of the week, that somehow life would feel a little different for us. The truth of the matter is, if we had more time, we would probably just fill it with more of the things that are keeping us busy. What we actually need is space. And this is where meditation offers exactly what it is that we're looking for. I love to share an analogy that kind of illustrates that a little bit, because all of us, regardless of where you're at in life, what you're doing on a day in, day out basis, you have a lot of demands on you. There's always information being sought. And if you can think of it like this, think of driving in a car and you drive up really, really close behind the car in front of you. And all of a sudden you realize there's a demand for you to know what that license plate in front of you actually reads. But you've pulled up so close to it that you actually can't see it. And no matter what you do, that's not going to change unless you pause and you create some space between you and that vehicle in front of you. Your day-to-day life is not much different from that. You've got problems going on, you've got things that are consuming your energy and your time. And in order for you to really be able to facilitate just a stronger problem solving skill set, you need to create a little bit of space for yourself. Meditation offers you all of those things. Ideally, if you were to commit to a daily meditation practice, you might want to consider things like creating a distraction-free area. That's in an ideal scenario. What I would love for you to leave here knowing today is that you can meditate in any situation. In fact, your focus over time will actually become stronger and stronger to the point where you may not even notice so much the distractions around you. And if you do, you've got enough space between that and, maybe the kids are hooting and hollering in the background or the phone is ringing, but you can put enough space between you and that distraction that you're just simply noticing it. It's not creating any kind of impact with you. The benefits of meditation are significant. First of all, I don't want to get into a lot of sciencey things, but there's a few of you I know that really rely on proof or evidence that things work. So I want to leave you with just a few key things specific to the way meditation functions within stress, so that if you choose to pursue this, if I've piqued your curiosity through this conversation, you know exactly where to go and pull up a little additional information if you so choose. So first of all, meditation is great for stress in general, okay? It helps to alleviate stress or soften stress, I like to say. It reduces cytokines, and cytokines, this is extremely important because it offers an opportunity for the stress between the nervous system and the immune system to be more cohesive. Therefore, when you are more relaxed, your immune system is strengthened and you become a healthier person as a result. Helps to reduce neurogenic inflammation. Helps to improve sleep. I want to get back to that word inflammation for a moment. Stress and inflammation to me are very interchangeable words. When you reduce stress, you tend to reduce inflammation throughout your entire body, whether it is physiological, whether it's in your mind. You reduce inflammation in the body and you reduce the opportunity for sickness and disease. That has been researched extensively. So if you choose to pursue this afterwards, you're going to come up with a lot of evidence-based information that will point to meditation being a strong supporter in this category. Improving sleep. Who couldn't benefit from that? Even if you're a great sleeper, you would love to sleep consistently well all the time. Maybe when you travel, maybe your sleep gets thrown off a little bit. Well, meditation is going to support you in getting back to a good sleep, even when you're not in your familiar environment. It can also act as a preventative tool. So if you know the things that stress you out, and you also know meditative practices, the good news is that you will recognize those triggers, practice your meditation skills, and hopefully over time be able to limit the effect that those triggers have on your stress response. We're also able to improve our memory and concentration by practicing meditation. There are, I'm going to say a healthy amount of research studies that you can also find on how meditation will help curb addiction, helps to ease pain, because pain and inflammation, pain and stress, these things are all interconnected with one another, helps to alleviate that type of pain. Meditation helps to support you when you're experiencing food cravings. And on a physiological in a physiological way, you're also going to be supporting the reduction in heart rate as well as blood pressure through meditation. Lots of evidence points towards that. Moving on. The way this happens is that when you're meditating, you are impacting brainwave activity. And this is extremely important because these brainwaves impact all of the things that we do. And brainwaves are produced when neurons are firing and talking to one another. They are basically synchronized electrical pulses, and one single neuron connects to thousands and forms a network that impacts various areas of your brain. So this is a powerful practice, to say the least. Some of the areas of the brain, and again, I said I wasn't going to get too sciencey, but I know some of you out there love this kind of stuff. So bear with me just while I highlight a few areas of the brain that are impacted through the practice of meditation. One is the frontal lobe, and this is where we are making decisions all the time. This is a very active part of the brain. This is where problem solving happens. This is where our social interactions live, our impulse control. And this is the part of the brain that is strategic and planning. So when we talk about meditation supporting our ability to be more creative and productive, this is where this is actually happening in the brain. It has a geographic space where it's happening. The thalamus, this is the information station in our brain. And this is where information about things that we come into contact with through our senses is transformed into information we can do something about. So our sight, our sound. It also plays a role in sleep. So we talked about meditation being supportive of sleep functions. Meditation connects through brainwave activity to the parietal lobe in the brain, which is all about touch and sensory experience. So when you think about the fact that right now you could think about your feet, where your feet are relative to space and time, your feet being on the ground. This is happening in that area of the brain. And lastly, there's so many areas of the brain impacted, but I'm just going to share a few of them with you. And there's the reticular. The reticular is where we regulate things like our muscle modulation, our pain response, things of that nature. And as I mentioned before, the way that this happens is through brainwave activity. And we can actually alter brainwave activity through the practice of meditation. You have various styles, various types of brainwaves occurring in your day-to-day life. We kind of run the gauntlet of brainwave activity. In the morning, this morning, you were in an alpha brainwave state, for example, probably at the time when you woke up in the morning and you were awake. You didn't have to solve any problems just yet, but you were maybe doing some common things, like you turned off your alarm and maybe you went and prepared the coffee. That is when you were in your alpha brainwave state. As your day progressed, you went into more of a decision-making style of thinking. You probably hopped in your car, maybe you thought about what you were making kids for lunch, but you had to make some decisions. You stepped into a beta wave state. We spend a lot of our day in the beta wave state. The theta wave state would be our dreaming state. And in the daytime, sometimes for a few of us, you don't have to say if it's you or not, but in the afternoon, if you ever feel like you're getting really sluggish, super tired, almost like you need to take a nap, this could be you slipping into your theta wave state. And this is really, if you've ever felt like you're operating on autopilot. This is more conducive, obviously, to a time of the day when you are able to take a rest. But a lot of times, if we're not practicing meditation, for example, or proper healthy lifestyles, you can slip into this sort of dreamy, sluggish state a little more often than you would like. Gamma waves are the fastest ones. These are the ones in our professional lives, I find more so than anything, that we find ourselves in a whole heck of a lot. These are the fastest waves, and this is when you're really problem solving, intense information. Maybe you're learning something new. Some of you may be in a gamma wave state right at this very moment because you're taking in new information and your brain is deciphering all of it. The last one is the delta, and we're only experiencing delta waves when we are in that deep state of restorative sleep. So those are those 5 brain waves, and the beauty, and you don't have to know any of these, but it is worth knowing that they exist in this flow throughout every single day that you're alive, and that you have some control over moving into a different wave state. Like I said before, we spend a lot of time in our lives making decisions and thinking things through and problem solving, which means that we're probably in a beta or in a gamma brain wave state. Whereas when we meditate, this allows us the opportunity to slip into a alpha state where we're very relaxed and we're calm, but we're still awake. This gives us an opportunity to create space in our lives and digest whatever is happening throughout our day. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can actually bring yourself into that brainwave state, which we're calling alpha, or just stepping out of those decision-making states of mind. This all happens with one easy step, and it is with your breath. And sometimes this seems so simple, especially if you're learning this brand new, that it almost seems like it won't work. I can assure you that this is the first step into really facilitating a strong meditation practice. Breath is often referred to as pranayama. Prana meaning breath, yama meaning control. So gaining control of the breath. And this is a really easy way for you to gain some control and some space in your life. And this is where it becomes very easy to teach to other people as well. So I want to give you 3 specific breath techniques that will allow you to feel more relaxed and calm, first of all, but encourage you to slip into a more relaxed and calm state throughout your day so that you're able to make stronger, more beneficial decisions, and you're not making decisions on the fly, because those decisions almost always seem to be less advantageous than whether you had had an opportunity to really think things through. So the first breath, I wish you guys could see these slides. I'm going to send them over to Emily afterwards, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to take a look at them, and maybe it'll trigger some of what you're learning here today. But the first one is called Ujjayi breath, which is also known as the victory breath. And this is wonderful for really slowing down the mind, because the mind can only think about one thing at a time. So this allows you to think about the breath as opposed to all the other things that you're thinking about, the groceries you have to pick up after work today, or the meeting that you have to have scheduled, or the shoes you have to drop off to your kid at school. Any of those kinds of things, those will all exist after your meditation practice. But for right now, this pause will offer you a little bit of space in your day. Ujjayi breath is one of the most beautiful techniques. It is often lovingly referred to as the Darth Vader breath because it sort of sounds, well, it very much sounds like Darth Vader. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to know exactly, maybe you've even practiced this style of breathing before. But it is also referred to as ocean breath because the sound of it really does sound like a wave slowly rolling in and a wave slowly pushing back out again. I'm going to demonstrate, hoping that you're able to hear this quite well. And I would encourage you, no one can see or hear, so I would encourage you to do this alongside me so that you really feel like you've had the opportunity to practice it. So it is a slight closing of the throat area. Breathing all the way back in again. Let's do this one more time. And if you're willing to close your eyes while you do it, you'll notice that it does really take on the sound of a wave. You've just learned the first technique in an effective breathing practice and meditation practice. That's the beauty of meditation. There's no set time on how long meditation has to happen. What you just did, that pause that you offered in your day, you've meditated. So congratulations, you are now a meditator. But let's move on and learn another technique. This one is my personal favorite. And I think it's because this is something that was very organic to me. This is something that I did even as a child without knowing the benefits to it. And it is called the Brahmari breath, which is also known as the humming bee breath. When you inhale, you're going to inhale through your nose, nice deep inhale. And on the exhale, your mouth remains closed and you hum the breath as you're exhaling through your nose. So again, I'm going to demonstrate, and I would encourage you again, do this alongside me when you feel comfortable to do so, and you will feel a few things. You will feel yourself calming down instantly because again, it's all you can think about is that breath. And it is super helpful for reducing stress. So going back to the comment I made about when I was a kid, I would often do this when it was time to visit the dentist or the doctor, places I didn't really want to be. I would naturally do this. So passing it on to you now, the Brahmari breath or humming bee breath. So together we inhale and we hum it out. Again, breathing in. And we hum it out. And one final time with your eyes closed if you're willing. And if you'd like to place your hands on your chest and notice the vibration that this breathing provides for you, please experience the whole thing. Let's do this together. We'll breathe in. And again, you may notice a sense of calm wash over you just in that single breath. The final breath that I want to share with you is called the Shitali breath. And these are all Sanskrit words, but they also have their English translation. And for this one, it is the cooling breath. This one is brilliant for reducing and easing tension, especially if you're noticing that you're highly agitated. Maybe anger has made its way into your day. This is the tool, the breath that you'll want to lean on. And again, these are all very, very easy to teach. I would encourage you to make it a priority to teach this to someone else today. That way you anchor in the how-to for yourself and you pass on those benefits to someone else. So Shitali breath is done by, I always call it making a taco with your tongue. And I realize how goofy this looks, but no one can see you. So please feel free to do this alongside me. You're going to make the taco with your tongue and breathe in through your mouth. Notice as you're doing this, that breath that is entering your body is extremely cool as it's coming in. By comparison, take in a deep breath through your mouth without making the taco tongue. The breath is quite warm. You're taking in the environment around you. Unless you're standing outside, you're breathing in relatively warm or neutral temperature air. But as soon as you form that taco tongue, you are cooling in what it is that you're taking into your body. And it serves a great purpose in creating a very comforting, stress relieving environment for you. So these three practices, the Ujjayi breath or victory breath, You guys might want to choose to remember that as ocean breath or the Darth Vader breath. The second one was the Brahmari breath, which is the humming bee breath. And third is the Shatali breath. 3 great ways to step into a relaxation practice and something that's super easy to implement with your family. This afternoon, if your day gets overwhelming, if you find yourself stepping into a state of frustration or anger or confusion, any one of these that you pause even 30 seconds to practice will alleviate stress. When you alleviate stress, you open up space. When you open up space, you're able to observe, become more creative, ultimately more productive. What I would love to pass on to each of you is this knowingness that you've got this. And the more often you try these practices, the better obviously you're going to become with them. The more comfortable you will feel with practicing them wherever you are. If you're like me, I get a little anxious when I travel, especially on a plane. It is nothing for me to bust out some of these breathing techniques. And almost always someone will ask me what I'm doing. I pass on that information, and before long, they're doing it too. So this ripple effect is a really positive thing. I would now love to take you through a guided meditation practice. And the reason I'm doing a guided meditation is because I know for some of you, this is the first time you've meditated. For many of you, you might be doing this while you're in your work environment, so there are some distractions. So the only thing you really need to do during a guided meditation is to listen. Listen to the sound of my voice, follow the instruction, and you really don't have to do anything else. Obviously, you'll be breathing alongside the sound of my voice. I want to point out to you that during this meditative experience, your mind will wander. That is the nature of the human mind. You are alive. So when this happens, not if this happens, but when this happens, I want you to just simply notice, oh, my mind has wandered off. Oh, I'm not thinking about what I want to be thinking about right now. Notice that you've done it. Don't condemn yourself or judge it. Just bring yourself back to the present moment and begin breathing again, focusing on your breath, focusing on the sound of my voice. So I'm going to invite you now to find a comfortable seated position, one that you can hold for a few moments. If you're in a situation where you're able to lie down, you can certainly lie down. And if you are going to lie down, I'm going to encourage you just to keep your knees bent because that will prevent you from feeling sleepy. It maintains that alert posture. But either one are perfectly great for a guided meditation. When you're ready and you're in that comfortable seated position or lying down position, I'm going to ask you to gently close your eyes. I'll have you begin thinking about your shoulders and allowing them to relax. Think about tension melting away from you. Let your jaw soften. If it suits you, you can even massage that area where your jaw meets your ear. Sometimes we hold a lot of tension in that space. And just let that tightness set itself free. And soften behind your eyes. And just begin to notice your breath. Notice if it's shallow or deep. Notice how the air that you're breathing in enters the nostrils and it's cool when it enters. And as you exhale and that breath exits the body, that same breath has been warmed by your energy. Continue noticing your breath, following the inhale all the way in. And following the exhale all the way out. And see if you can begin to deepen each breath, even slow it down a little bit. Watch how your breath moves from section to section throughout you, in through your nose, expanding in your sinuses, expanding your awareness, traveling down to fill your chest. You see your chest rise, feel it rise, and ultimately your breath travels all the way down to your abdomen. You can see and feel your belly expand. You notice the ribs taking up space with every inhale. Notice how they're expanding to create space for you. And just continue breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Trying now to match the length of your inhale to the exhale. This creates a rhythmic, relaxing pattern. Your breath is unequivocally the most personal, intimate, and important aspect of yourself. In life, when you find a moment overwhelming, you will naturally use the breath to steady yourself. When you are experiencing moments of radical joy and happiness, those kinds of moments that you never want to forget, you can use your breath to lock in that memory. Your breath is your anchor. Recognize your breath now as the single most loyal element of being human. When you're alone, listen to it. And remember that your breath is your anchor. It seems like a distant memory now, but summertime holds a special way of slowing us down. When summer begins to wrap her warm, sunny arms around us, we begin to live our lives with a sense of freedom and liberation that somehow seems reserved, especially for the season. The warm days turn hot, and we actually slow ourselves down to match the sway in the trees and the long, lingering days. On the early side of summer, everything feels hopeful and exciting. It feels like we have this big chunk of time in front of us and that our calendar is so full of promise. Can you remember as a kid how the summer seemed like it was never ending? Like somehow there was always more time and more time to pack in all of the things that you love to do. You never worried about running out of time. You'd swim until your body was waterlogged and freezing cold, your teeth chattering as you came out of the water. You'd get wrapped up in a big, fluffy, terry towel that smelled like the fabric softener of home. And you'd head to bed in your summer pajamas without a bath because you had already spent all day in the water anyway. Your hair and your pillow would smell like chlorine, and your skin would take on a beautiful tan. And the next day, you'd wake up and you'd do more of what you loved: bike, skip, play sports, hang out with your friends. And you would do this until you heard someone shout your name throughout the neighborhood, calling you home for dinner. When you were a kid, you had mastered living in the moment. It was the only thing that mattered. And that gorgeous, endless, satisfying summer feeling, it does slip away over time, but you have the power to call it back. You have the power to slow it down. You have the power to capture it. So you never have to call summer or any other season a blur or a whirlwind. So you won't feel the need to say things like, it went by way too fast, or I need a holiday from my holiday. Instead, you'll reflect on the season and say things like, that was the best ever, or I felt a bit like a kid again. Because when you were a kid, you lived only for the present. The present is the only thing that we actually have. It's the only thing that matters. The past is only a problem if we keep repeating the issues over and over in our mind. If you can think of a person or an experience that has previously stressed you out, you'll also notice that you can agitate yourself all over again by hanging on to that memory. You might notice tension rising just by thinking about it, but it's not real. It's gone. It's the past. And the only thing that matters is this moment. Use your breath again now to return to this present moment. Remember your ujjayi breath or your ocean breath. And just like the waves, they come in and they let go. The past has no power over the present moment. You may also find yourself losing sight of the present because you're thinking about the future, something that isn't even guaranteed. We waste way too much time anticipating scenarios that may or may not ever come to fruition. The power for creating a better future is contained in the present moment. You create a good future by creating a good present. Use your breath as a guidepost. And when you notice yourself slipping into the future, simply return to the breath, even for a moment. Place a hand on your heart and one on your belly and breathe. I am here now. I am here now. I am here now. And this simple practice creates beautiful flow in your day, your childlike day. You begin to flow more like water, one of the elements. It's a beautiful thought because water doesn't think about where it's been or where it's going, it just flows. It is in the present, always. And if you know you can flow like water, there's no risk of what if something unexpected happens. Because if it happens, you'll flow with it. What happens when there's a boulder in the path of water? The water flows around it or over it, but it keeps moving. Allow the characteristics of water to embody you. Like a child, you worry not because you can flow. You can flow through anything. You can flow around it or over it. You are unstoppable and powerful. You're agile, liberated, and free. Allow your breath to guide you, to anchor you, and to capture it all. Please begin to deepen your breathing. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently sway your body from side to side, stretching if that feels good for you, bringing some awareness to the time and the space that you're in, noticing where you are and bringing yourself back to the room. And when you feel ready, please allow your eyes to flutter open, bringing yourself completely back to the room and to this moment. I'm going to leave you with this thought from Eckhart Tolle. And he says, presence is when you're no longer waiting for the next moment, believing that the next moment will be more fulfilling than this one. Namaste. Thank you all so much for carving out the time today. I hope you leave feeling empowered, but mostly curious to learn more about meditation and to integrate this into your health and wellness lifestyle. Emily, thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. I almost feel guilty speaking after you because you have such like a calm and soothing voice.
Thank you.
And I'm like, oh, I don't want to interrupt the energy we've created. But thank you so much, Rebecca. I do have a couple of questions, and I'll open the floor to invite people to ask those as well. For one, I want to say I really appreciate both the science and spiritual element to both of these things. I resonate with both sides. Sometimes I really want to tap into that spiritual side, but I am so curious about the physiological effects of so many of these practices. So I really appreciate you including both of those. Do you have any tips for staying consistent with meditation? So let's say someone's curious and, just like any other practice with nutrition and exercise, are there ways that you recommend that people will be better able to adhere to a meditation routine?
Definitely. Yeah, that is a really great question. What I would recommend, while there are no real rules with meditation, there is a best practice or a recommendation to start your day with meditation. So we tend to be very much creatures of habit, especially in our morning routines. We get up and we do a certain sequence of things. Integrating meditation into that sequence of things is really beneficial because it is really that rare chunk of time in your day when expectations aren't as high as they're going to get. You can most easily slip it into that time. And it doesn't matter if it's a minute or if it's 30 minutes. Also, you're in the right frame of mind. You also are really best suited to set your intention for your whole day if you're able to do this practice in the morning. It really sets the tone for your whole day. So again, no rules, but a recommendation would be to start your day with it and see about making it part of that morning routine, because we're really good at that one. The rest of the day tends to get a little scattered sometimes.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. Another question was to introduce it to your family. Let's say if you have children at home and whatnot, you had mentioned the dining table practice, perhaps at dinner. But are there any methods or tools or resources that you would recommend introducing young family members into meditation?
Yeah. So having gone through this myself, I have 3 kids. We have had a little bit of fun with this. What I can say about bringing it into your family's life is show them those breathing techniques. The Shatali breath, or that cooling breath where you make your tongue like a taco, kids love that technique. And it makes for a lot of laughter. It's lighthearted. And what that does for a child is anchor that in as a core memory. This is fun. This is something I want to do. Hey, mom, look at me. I'm doing the breathing technique. Mom, look, I'm meditating. And that just allows for them to baby step their way into learning more and more and more while loving it in the process. It's not another thing they have to do.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. I made sure, of course, this will be recorded and people will have a copy of your slides as well. And I made sure throughout the presentation to include notes in the chat so people could follow along. So I look forward to any feedback that we get and any questions that you have for Rebecca. We'll make sure to be able to provide her information to everyone that's joined and who's curious about the practice. So thank you again so much, Rebecca. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their afternoons.
Completely my pleasure. Thanks again.